Good
Hello.
morning, everybody. Dave Savage here. Welcome to the Mortgage Coach Friday Mastermind. Every single Friday, we are here to connect, to mastermind, to just get smarter together in the mortgage coach community. On today's call, we've got Jen Duplessis. Jen, it's good to have you back.
Thank you. Happy to be back. Happy to be
Good.
back.
I know it's been a while since myself, you, and we've got Mr. Todd Bookspan, my co-host. What's up, Todd?
You know, I'm so excited to be here today. I was telling these guys it is my wife's birthday today, so I scheduled myself off. She scheduled herself a conference call at this time, so I'm here because you guys bring me joy. I'm excited to be here with everyone today.
Right on. So remember, folks, this is a mastermind. So one, we'd love to bring in other voices. We can unmute you, bring your conversation in. We're going to be following questions that come in through either Zoom or Facebook Live. So if you have questions, share those. Also, one of the things I loved about last week's call, by the way, last week's call, we had Paul Riley, editor of Value Added Selling. I loved about last week's call was that there were so many people sharing takeaways in both the Facebook group and Zoom. So it was kind of like community note-taking, community learning together. Let's make sure we do that again. So before we get into the first topic, I am going to share my screen and just share some of the things that happened in the mortgage coach community this week. Todd, could you confirm that you can see my screen real quick?
Yes. I can see your screen, Dave.
All right, let's see. What do I want to show first? Let's go over here. So let's look at my feed. This, by the way, let me get this. These are the posts that I've put so far for the week. I want to shine a light on the fact that I interviewed the author of Exponential Organizations. Check it out. If you're an innovator, if you want to know what innovators are doing, if you want to be a disruptor, this is an incredible book. He is one of the most sought after speakers in the technology space right now. The guy is just, literally, he's speaking every day of the week almost around the country. Anyways, we talked about his predictions about real estate and mortgage. So check out that interview, posted that a couple days ago. I had my buddy, Jack Daly. Jack is just a legend in the mortgage space. He used to lead one of the largest sales forces. I think he had about 2,500 loan officers that, he had built a large organization pre-meltdown. He's also a great author, fantastic interview. Make sure you check that out. Let's see, we did the lead generation playbook. So I released the playbook. I do have some edits to do over the weekend on this. So if you haven't read it, if you haven't scanned it, check it out. Also, we dedicated Tuesday's call to the playbook. And I had a number of great guests. We had Nicole Solari on the call. We had Wally Elderberry on the call. We had Dan Keller on the call. Kelly Zitlow jumped in, jumped out. And it was just, me interviewing local referral-based mortgage professionals that are top producers at anybody's measure and saying, hey, where are you getting your leads? And where are you going to get your leads in the future? So great call this Tuesday, and we released the playbook. So Todd, anything you want to shine a light on from the mortgage coach community before we get into the first topic?
I think it's just my normal reminder, right? There's so much value on the YouTube channel. I jumped in just for a couple of minutes because I had a client who was late for his coaching call. I won't call him out here live on the air. And so I got on, I listened to Kelly talk, and it was really great insight. I think you guys forget how much value there is when Dave brings in these producers, right? And so I would jump in and watch it. Me, my hack is I watch it on double speed. So I will go back and watch the rest of that. I think that would be great. And then I do want to throw a shout out. We're going to say it a few times in here. I want to thank you guys because a bunch of you have jumped in this morning with Dave's encouragement. But we're doing a loan officer survey, right? So I did one before of loan officers doing 4 or less loans, and I got a huge response. I was super grateful for all of you who did it. And then now I'm sharing with Dave what we learned, and Dave's like, we should do it for everybody. And so here it is for you guys. We added in leads, so it takes a couple extra minutes because we want to see kind of, someone who's doing a lot of loans, what does your business really look like in 2018? And so take a few minutes. I would really, really be grateful for it, and go fill it out as best as you can. And it's just at winbynoonsurvey.com. Or you can see it here. It's winbynoon.com/survey as well. There's 2 different ways to get to it. You can get to it the same way, both ways. So it's in the Facebook group. If you guys could click through and complete that, that would be a big favor to me. And then I'm going to turn around and figure out how to use that data to help all of you grow here on these Friday calls. So it's a self-serving thing request, but it's actually for your benefit. So thank you guys in advance. And thanks to those of you who've done it.
Yeah, and I want to put a push on that too, because one of the things Todd and I are very intentional about is, what are the topics, who we should interview, what could we do to make you more successful? I mean, these Friday calls, our Tuesday calls, everything we do is to make referral-based local mortgage professionals more successful, know the best practices that are working best. So please do take a few minutes, fill this out. It's for us to help you more effectively. And please forward this. If you're a branch manager, have multiple loan officers at different production levels, fill it out. If you're a regional, push it along to your team. The more people we can get to fill out this survey, and really it's 4 minutes-ish. Maybe if you took your time, it's 8 minutes. So in 4 to 8 minutes, you could give us insight that will help us execute better as we bring value back to you. So with that said, I'm going to switch to the topic that we're going to open today's call around, the interview that we did with Paul Riley, and the whole concept of, how can we address the pricing conversation more effectively? Todd and I, one, we want to remind you about some of the takeaways from this call. And then 2, there may be some things that you missed. So if you were on last week's call and you had a takeaway, or there's something that you did differently this week versus last week. So it's like, hey, last Friday you heard the call, you took some notes. What did you execute on this week? So we would love to hear that. If anybody has taken action this week based off of something you learned last week, put it in comments, whether you're on Facebook or Zoom. And if you have a success story to share, we'll unmute you and bring you in. But with that said, Todd, why don't you share a few things that you want to remind the community on about last week's call?
It was a great call. And those of you who didn't watch it, you're crazy, and especially if you're a leader. And, I thought there was a lot of takeaways, but my top ones, one thing that Dave Gallegos really pushed about it was, be an expert, right? I mean, we're paid like experts in the loan business, right? He does his analogy that, his research was that an anesthesiologist was the highest paid profession out there on average. And most loan officers make more money than an anesthesiologist without having to go through like 600 million years of school and without having to risk people's lives every day. And so be a professional, right? So what Paul said was, if you are an expert and you prove that you're an expert, you're adding value. So figure out what it is that you don't know. Now, of course, I'm preaching to the choir. You guys are all here. So I don't think that that's necessarily an important point for you, but it's an important point for everybody else. He also talked about the fact that people discount because they can. And that was a huge kind of aha for me, because again, when I was a loan officer and I worked at a company that allowed us to have a 25 basis point leeway on every deal, guess what everybody did? 25 basis points in every deal. People lead with that. And so their surveys all show that the average salesperson is discount focused at a higher percentage than your average consumer. And we're so pre-programmed, because we get beat up on rate and price all the time, to think that they want that deal. But their research is they want value-added selling. They do say 1 in 6 people isn't your customer. They're not going to work with you. So accept that as well up front. That's really critical. And then he also talks about really identifying those pain points, right? And so I would say kind of rub salt in the wound, but in a nice way, right? You want to remind the person when they call up and say that their friend looked for months and then finally found a house and was told at the end that they didn't qualify. You want to remind them of the fact that, you're going to protect them from that with your expertise and your experience. And so you've got lots of these ideas there that you can do. And then I think probably the last thing I'll throw out there, and then I'll shut up and let us have some discussion around it, was just a reminder, think about this. Regardless of the seat that you sit in, think about the fact that a 1% discount in price equates to an 11% discount in profit and vice versa. And so in a compressing margin market where your company that you work for is trying to figure out how to be profitable, when you discount 1%, you're actually having an exponential effect on the bottom line of your branch. And in the end, all that's going to do is impact you. And so just always put on that CFO hat when you're in those negotiations and focus it, approach it a little bit different maybe than you did before. So, and I love that you did this, Dave, that you put in there into your playbook that you added and you adjusted because of this. And this is the kind of thing I think you community I think most of you see Dave's genius, but I love the fact that Dave's been working on this playbook. He's really proud of this playbook. We have this call last Friday and he's like, aha, I'm going to bring this back to the community, put it in the playbook. So love it, Dave. Why don't you jump in and talk about it?
Yeah, no, everything you said, Todd, I echo were big takeaways, standards, leadership, how small differences make big changes. You know, at the very end of the call, I asked him if there was one thing, like, you know, closing thoughts, one thing that's most important. And he took it right to, you know, you've got to get off of price, interest rate, and on to total cost so that you can really demonstrate your value. And that was the concept that when we founded Mortgage Coach was on that concept that that's what the best loan officers do. They're not just quoting rates and fees and I'll close your loan on time. They were broadening the conversation. And so, you know, yeah, I did add that as one of we had 3 principles. Now we have 4 principles. And yes, we're constantly evolving our playbook based off of best practices in the marketplace. So I just wanted to showcase that and then just remind people that it is so critical that when you get up to bat with a client, hang on, I'm trying to pull up the right screen. There we go. When you get up to bat with a client and you want to deliver the maximum value, you know, the way to deliver the maximum value, part of that is how you deliver the rates and fees. So I just asked everybody to audit, you know, are you delivering rates and fees with a fee worksheet? Are you doing it in a way that's just encouraging rate shopping? Or by the way, forget about encouraging rate shopping. You're going to get rate shopped by a lot of people. And when you do get in that knife fight, do you want a pricing exception to be your best tool to win that business? And that's where I go to. If you have the right conversation at the point of sale, if you deliver the total cost analysis, and you get rate shopped, which is going to happen a lot, you are in a position to optimize winning that business and winning it at a margin that's good for you and your business. So, Todd, anything else you want to, before we, you know, switch, bring on another topic, anything else you want to cover?
You know, I just look back at my notes to see what else I forgot to say. And the other part was just ask more questions, right? I mean, our biggest challenge is we like to show up and throw up all over people. So they call in and we just want to tell them everything that we know. And that's different than what I said about being the expert, right? You want to be the expert by asking the right questions so that you're giving them the right advice, right? That's how you extend out the conversation. You talked about extending the timeline and get them from that immediate need to figure out, well, why do they care about the price, right? Those of you who watch Scriptapalooza, really one of my favorite things is when Josh Metal said, people ask your rate because they don't know what else to ask. And so you know that the only way to discover what those pain points are, the only way to help them figure out where they need your expertise and you to explain something at a high level is by asking better questions. And so slow down, ask permission, right? Jen's got great scripts on that, of asking permission when it comes to asking them questions. And then you will be able to really get to the root of it, because that's the whole value added piece, right? That's the whole relationship piece. That's the whole showing them that you're a professional versus the person on the phone at the call center who just said, thanks for calling. Great. What's your social security number, right? What's your name? How much money do you make, right? There's a personal versus impersonal. So I would go back there and then, I just loved it, Dave, because he was speaking your language that I've heard you speak for 17 years, price versus advice. And so it was just like, I was just soaking it in. It was fun.
Yeah, that was good. And I'm not the one who invited him to the party. So, hey, we had a nice comment from Eddie. I'm not going to get your name wrong, Eddie, but I have unmuted you, Eddie. I don't know if you were, say that again, Jen.
Berenju. It's actually Berenju.
Hey, so Eddie, I'm trying to unmute you, although I think you're muted on your side. if you do want to share, he shared in chat a success story that he had last night. Eddie, if you get to the point where we can unmute you, we'd love to have you share that live and tell us what happened. But check out chat. Eddie said that he had a business meeting last night, used the total cost analysis, and wowed realtors. So it looks like you had some type of a booth. So would love to hear more about that.
Yeah.
Eddie, one more time. Yeah, I'm having challenges unmuting him. So.
Well, and I thought it was just really good that he mentioned it. And, you know, we appreciate that, Eddie, because we had talked about this. Michelle and I had answered questions from Facebook a couple of weeks ago on our Friday call. And one of the questions was, you know, I'm going to be doing a trade show, event, expo. And so what are some things that I should be doing? So it sounds like he kind of took that and ran with it, and hopefully he listened in and maybe added on to it. So it's always really good to continue to have that conversation to build on, you know, whatever just Michelle and I said. So I was really hoping to hear something from him. Yeah, I just want to say that, you know, what you all are talking about is great. I'm just listening in. You know, I think one of the things that we can do also, especially in this market, is, well, there's two things. There's the FOMO, right? We all know what that stands for. That's the fear of missing out, right? And I think that there's a lot of clients that have a fear of missing out, but we just have to highlight that. We have to unfold it and make sure that they understand that by waiting to buy, they have this fear of missing out. And this really does talk about rate strategies and how we're going to communicate with our clients. So on top of everything that we've learned through Scriptpalooza and Mr. Riley and everything, right? Everything that everybody's talked about. I think we also want to call attention to the fact that in a nice way, talking to our clients and saying, you know, if you had called me, so before we get started with rates, you know, let me just shed a light on something that's external, right, to us. So it's not us with the bad rate quote as their opinion is, well, why are your rates so high? Well, it's the economy, right? It changed. So, you know, so let's talk about this for a few minutes. I just want to do a little flashback here. You know, had you called me 5 months ago, these are what rates would have been prior to us talking about what rates are right now. And dissecting that into a payment, of course, right? Not just rate, but into a payment and how that makes a difference in their payment. And moving forward, you know, our predictions are that we think rates will, you know, land X, Y, and Z, or if you don't make a move, values will go up as well. And this is where you'll be in the future. And that really expresses the FOMO on it. So you want to be the hero. You want to kind of be in between, is saying, you know, the market's the villain, and I'm going to be the hero because I'm going to share with you where rates are today so that you don't have FOMO in the future, right? And lose. So I think capsulating that in those three segments, in addition to all of the things we've all heard about how to take on that question of what's your rate? What's your rate? So I just wanted to shed a light on that, just kind of expand a little bit more on a different tactic that you could take after responding to the initial question of what is your rate? So just something to share there.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. So community, if you have questions, takeaways, anything from last week's call, put them in. We'll get to them throughout the call. We've still got 40 minutes left to mastermind. Jen, I know when we were, you know, prepping before the call, you had a couple ideas on topics that are just timely. You know, we're 1 week away from the last week of July. That leaves, you know, one more month. Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. Get with us.
This year is flying by.
It is.
That means we have one more month in Q3. And let's face it, guys, Q4, you know, I think it depends on what market you're in. We can't expect that to be record breaking. So Jen, you had some thoughts on how do we get ready to close Q3 strong?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so, you know, I brought this up because it's something that I'm working with my my clients right now, my coaching clients, is, you know, as we start getting into, you know, finishing up August, we're finishing up Q3. We're now going to be talking about Q4. In my opinion, it's just my opinion, And what I've done for, you know, the past 20 some years that I was originating in my you know, tenured career of 35 was that by October 1st, my business plan was done for the next year. Because let's face it, the activities that you're doing in October, November, and December are going to breed the results you're going to have in January. And I see so many people, you know, I've said this 1,000 times on this too, is everyone's so excited about the end of the year and then they hate the first of the year, right? They love New Year's Eve, but they don't like New Year's Day, and they hit the reset button. And it's a difference between being what I call a 10-1 loan officer, being in the business for 10 years, 1 year at a time, and having the same thing year after year, the same volume, not really increasing, versus having a practice, as I call it, not a business, you know, but having a mortgage practice, because look, we're doctors, just like Todd said, you know, we are doctors. So having a mortgage practice that grows over, you know, over a period of time, whether you have good years or bad years, but the bottom line is it's always growing. So it's in your best interest to now, at this particular time, start thinking about and reflecting back on what's happened in 2018. You know, how did your business plan look like? Have you even looked at your business plan, or did you write it and put it in a folder or something and not look at it? And, you know, why did you decide that you wanted to work with builders? And have you worked with builders? Have you taken any action to do that? Why did you decide that you wanted to double your production? And have you doubled your production? Have you even done the things that you thought would get you there? Have you said, perhaps, you know, I'm gonna make it a point to show up at every single Friday productivity call, but then you didn't put anything into action all year, right? So it's a good time right now to be reflecting, so that throughout the balance of August and all through September, you can start brainstorming and taking little notes in 4 different categories. This is how I have my clients do it, and how I've done it too. So the first category would be, it's called start, stop, keep, and enhance. So a category of, you know what, this is what I'm going to stop doing. I'm going to stop calling on realtors who don't reciprocate. I'm going to stop getting up so late in the morning. I'm going to stop knocking off work too early, right? So you're going to stop doing certain things. What is going to make your business go forward? The second one is start. What are you going to start doing? Getting up earlier in the morning. Blocking time to do client acquisition on your own, blocking time to do your annual reviews, blocking time to create a process so that you can do your annual reviews, blocking time to practice on your scripts. So what are you going to start doing? The next is keep. What am I going to keep doing? What's worked well? And, you know, I think that's really important. That's the reason that we, especially Win by Noon, if you're tracking things, you know what works well. Right? But if you're not tracking things, you're not going to be able to really assess that. So you're just going to have to gauge it. But hopefully you are, you know, keeping track of what works well. And what are you going to keep doing? That worked great. Let me keep doing that. So then that brings us to the enhance. It worked great. I got some results, but if I just turned the dial by 1 or 2 degrees, maybe I can enhance it and move my practice a little bit forward. So now the last category then is enhance. And so if you walk around with a, you know, however you want to do it, digitally or a piece of paper with stop, start, keep, enhance. And every time you're driving, every time you're at a conference, every time you're on this call, every time you're with a client, every time you walk away from a referral partner meeting and it went, ugh, and you say, that's I got to stop doing, or you went and you say, I got to keep doing that because they resonated with it. It will begin to form what will become your business plan for next year. And you won't have to delay it because you've, you know, bit off little pieces of it throughout the balance of August and September, so that by October, boom, everything that you're doing is to get unbelievable volume and production January, February, and March of next year. Todd, you have something to say. I saw you chirp in.
You know, it's, of course, I love you. Thank you for the Win by Noon plug. But what's funny about it is that, you know me, I'm all about planning and thinking ahead. And, you know, at first when you said, hey, gosh, we really got to talk about, you know, the quarter's almost over, we got to be looking at next year. You know, my gut was the same gut that a lot of you had, is like, wait a second, it's only middle of August. And I was so grateful that you said it, because you have to be looking ahead, right? Where are you going? And that's kind of been one of the most impactful things that anyone told me. I was talking to a realtor buddy of mine who was deciding to merge his team with other teams. He's super likable. Everybody wanted him. So he told like 2 people he was thinking about this, and he had 30 interviews with truly the best real estate teams in the Phoenix area. And he made his choice on who he thought was looking where the puck was going. And so Jen is looking where the puck is going, and she's encouraging you to do that. But what the other funny aha was, which I didn't think about, I've gotten so many people who started the survey, and when Dave and I added in how many leads did you get this year, and we really want to know that number because we're trying to see really, I think that the dots we're going to connect is that, he or she who has the most leads close the most loans, or he or she who has the highest quality leads closes the most loans. We're looking to connect those dots. But it was funny because the Win by Noon users were the first people who completed it, and they were not the ones. I had a lot of friends who don't use Win by Noon. It's okay. I still associate with people who don't, who said, oh yeah, let me get those numbers together. Well, they're still working on it, and everyone who uses Win by Noon tracks every day, every week, every month, and their numbers were crystal clear. So just kind of, be thinking about that. I spent the last 2 days, I've mentioned a couple times on here, I've been hanging out with a lot of entrepreneurs this year. And so I spent the last 2 days in the room with about a dozen people, and they're entrepreneurs from all different industries. No one's from the mortgage or real estate space. And it's the same thing. They're all talking about their numbers. They all know, right? They're building their funnels to try to get someone to get in and then get out on the other side purchasing whatever product it is that they have to sell. And they all know how many people have to come into this side of the funnel to go over here to be a closed customer. And so be thinking about this stuff. So go back to what Jen said. I love that, right? Keep, start, stop, enhance. If you want to grow your business next year, and she didn't say, hey, you got to do this today. She said, have it written down somewhere, carry it with you, right? And just be making notes, right? I mean, I'm making notes here on today's call, and then I've already got notes for tomorrow, which is my ideas page on the weekend that I'm already thinking about, big picture things. And so figure out whatever it is, whether it's a napkin, a scrap, a piece of paper, your iPhone notes, but think about what Jen said, because that is the mindset you need to be in if you're going to crush it in 2019.
Yeah. And the thing is, what we have to remember about a funnel is that it has some depth to it, right? So you can't just come out on January 1st and say, oh gosh, that's right, I wanted to hire an assistant and I got to do that quickly. And then you're fast to fire, fast to hire and slow to fire. That's crazy. Fast to hire and slow to fire. And so remember that a funnel has a timeline in it because of its depth. So this is why you want to fill the funnel now to have the closings. If we had turn times of 1 day for every loan, it would be a whole different story. So that's why we have to really plan much further ahead than most people. So thanks for doing that, Dave. That's nice.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I thought it was great. It was a great exercise. Highly recommend it. I threw it on Facebook right now. What are you going to stop doing?
Bob.
What are you going to start doing? What's that?
I said, there you go, Bob. He's already responded. Way to put it out there and tell the whole world. Yeah.
Yeah, Andrew Paul, former Navy SEAL, war hero, mortgage pro, badass down in San Diego. What's up, Andrew? So let us know. What are you going to stop? What are you going to start? What are you going to keep? And what are you going to enhance? Also, I posted a question, a couple days ago where it's just like, hey man, we're overwhelmed. There's more things that we can do in a day, but what is the one thing you're going to do today? Now it is interesting. No one shared their one thing. No worries. If you don't want to share it, don't share it. But wanted to remind people, part of getting things done is just what is that one most important thing that you're going to get done today? So
Darren talks about that all the time. What's the one thing? I mean, he does that all the time. So yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Hey, so I think Eddie's ready to talk. He's available and wants to chirp in if you guys are at a breaking point that we could do.
Eddie, so how you doing, buddy?
Hello.
Hi, Eddie.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, good. So tell us about the comment you made. Tell us what happened yesterday and share some results.
Well, I'm part of the Chamber Commerce in Napa. I work there as an ambassador. So I volunteer my time quite a bit, trying to just get out there and network as much as possible. And so we had this business showcase that we've been planning for quite a while. We do it every year, once a year. And this year I decided to do it on my own. And so I had the booth to myself. I planned on having a mortgage coach as a part of it, did total cost analysis for anybody that wanted one. And a few realtors did stop by that I've actually been targeting for a while. And one of them was actually pretty wowed about the experience and promised to send me business because of it.
I love that. You know, by the way, Eddie, I just remembered that you shared that post, a picture of it. I am showing it right now. Hopefully you guys can see it, but here's some pictures of what you did.
Yep.
So great. First of all, that is cool that the realtor loved it. What did you show the realtor, and what was it that, you know, wowed him?
I took them step by step of what I show a client, and then I also showed them the open house flyers that I make for the realtors as well.
Nice. Jen, any questions you have for Eddie, or any thoughts you have?
Well, thank you. Great job. Great job. I was just curious, did you listen in to Michelle and I and make any tweaks because of that? Or if you listened in, did you do something different that we didn't share? So that, you know, I always just don't like, you know, two people answering a question. I think, well, like the great Lou Holtz said, 1 + 1 is 11, right? The more people we can. So was there anything that you did that we didn't perhaps talk about?
No, I actually was on that call, but I had to break away a few times, so I probably didn't hear all of what you said. But no, another thing I had was I had my stand there that I take with me for open houses. I usually put Mortgage Coach on. And on that stand, I was rotating back and forth between Mortgage Coach and list reports. So I'd have list reports there showing all the current listings in my area. And then I would have folks come by and they would scroll through that. And one of them actually looked at a house they really liked, and then I did a total cost analysis for them on that home. So it was pretty cool.
Got it. So do you find, you know, and by the way, folks, on the screen right here, I'm dragging my mouse over it. There's the stand. You can see there's a digital experience. There's a flyer, you know, so there's just a nice blend of digital content to take consumers. Remember, we want to make them digital friends. So we want them to download our app. We want them to walk away with, you know, connected to you as a digital friend, but yet there was stuff that, hey, if they're not digital and they want to pick it up, you have it all. But do you find that the stand gets more people to walk up to you, or, you know, I'm just curious.
Actually, yeah, everywhere I put that stand, folks walk up to it and go, "What do you got going on here?" And that's probably the most common comment I get. What do you got going on here? What's this all about? And then that just gives me an easy in on going through the total cost analysis or what I'm showing on list report.
That's great.
So it's a conversation magnet. You know, love that. Todd, any questions or comments from what Eddie's saying?
Well, a couple things came to mind. First off, thank you, Eddie, for being one of the people who's filled out the survey, winbynoonsurvey.com for the rest of you. A little plug there. And, you know, it just reminded me that there's a huge power in showing your referral partners what you do and how you do business. And specifically what I mean by that, my best example is I've got a client who was a regional manager for over a decade, got back into production, and he really built out a great client experience. And one of the things he does is Mortgage Coach, and he got a realtor to come to his office, right? So he didn't drive and meet them for coffee or buy them lunch. He got them to his office, showed him his client experience. Note that he never had actually taken a client through the experience yet. He was trying to get referrals. He didn't have any yet. He said, "This is my client experience." That realtor was so wowed. They said, "Great, I'm going to send you business." And then they actually referred him a couple of more agents. So there's huge power in what Eddie did, which is showing your partners how you do business differently. And if you're not doing that, integrating that into your plan, I would start.
Yeah, absolutely. Great reminder. And when you look at the lead conversion playbook, that's strategy 1 and 2. Also just reminded me, that interview, it's probably might be one of the most watched interviews of all times, where I interviewed Jeremy on the questions that he asked realtors, 5 questions that he asked realtors. And then he always he transitions into, oh, you said communication is important? Let me show you how I communicate. And Eddie, that sounds, kind of the same playbook you're running. Eddie, anything else you want to add? Oh, go ahead, Jen.
I was going to say, it shows that you're listening too. I think, the difference between hearing people and actually listening, or listening and actually hearing. I say it to my husband all the time. I know you think you're listening to me, but you're not hearing me. So it's making sure that, if you're going to ask the questions and you want to, if you're going to waste your breath asking the questions, then listen to the answers and see how you can take action into them. So that said, and Eddie, with what you were saying, is that the realtor came up, was real excited and said, oh, that they're going to refer me business in the future. I'm just curious to know what your plan is for follow-up at this point, to ensure that that isn't just a comment that individual made, but it actually becomes reality for you.
Well, I'm definitely going to reach out to them today, and I'll put them on my drip campaign as well, but I definitely like the more personal touch as well. And so I will probably plan a coffee appointment with them as well, and just keep in front of them. That's about the best thing you can do. And show, when she has an open house, I'll probably send her over some open house flyers and such, and offer my services to help her out with any open house she has, and I'll bring my stand.
Good, awesome.
Yeah,
Wait,
so
thanks for sharing.
Eddie, before we put you back on mute, any questions that you have for us, or anything else you want to share with the community?
No, I'm good. I just appreciate all your guys' help. I enjoy getting on these calls, and a lot of good information out there, and I make it a weekly habit.
Good. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the post that you made, bringing that success story, visualizing it in the group. That's how we all get better together, and then sharing your success story. So, Eddie, thanks for being a leader in the community and, following and executing. Great job, man.
Thank you so much.
Great.
All right. I'm going to put you back on mute, but if something else comes up, let us know. If there's anyone else on the call that either 1, you have a question, or 2, you have a story you want to share, this is a mastermind. We've got over 100 people live, and, we always have hundreds of people watch the recording. So if you do watch the recording and you have a question, myself, Todd, Jen, Michelle Town, we do follow this. We'll make sure your questions get answered. Just let us know what they are.
I feel like I'm asking for a lot of favors this week, but one thing, so we got a question on Facebook Live about Eddie's stand. So Eddie, if you want to go in there and post where you bought that group is really powerful. I think it was Robert Ring who posted a link to his stand. I think he got it from Amazon, but if you go into that Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind Facebook group, on the left side, there's that search bar, type in their open house stand or something like that. It'll come up, right? Type in their CRM, it'll come up. I was talking to a coaching client and they wanted to do an FAQ video. So I went back to, I think it was Tim Lamb who did a big old post that has over 50 comments on what are the FAQs you would record in a video. There's so much power in there. And Tina Ann would give me a hard time if I didn't say it. We're at like just shy of 4,000 members. So who do you know that you can invite to be part of the group? We would love to have them there, because our goal is to get over 4,000 qualified, impactful, willing to share loan officers in that group, because we're having a blast here. Thank you guys for being part of it, but let's get some more folks in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as everyone could see, I just added the search. I did open house stand in the group, like Todd said, and boom, there's the stand. Follow the links and you'll get the goods. And by the way, Todd, just a great reminder, folks, there is so much value in this group. Every attachment that's ever been made is right here. So there's a library of content and value. It's a great group. And by the way, it's a great group.
I was going to say, speaking of that, someone in the chat, or wait, Q&A. I'm looking at the chat of the Q&A said, who did it? Just said a few minutes ago that they were going to stop, start, and keep. Was that online that we saw that? Yeah. was online that we saw where he immediately said what he was going to start keeping enhance. And one of the things that he said he was going to enhance, I don't have the website up, the Facebook page up. One of the things that he said he was going to enhance was his perfect loan process. And so speaking of which, you're in there in files. You had asked me some time ago to put my perfect loan process on paper. It's digital. And so I converted it to paper. My perfect loan process is in there. So for that individual, because I can't remember who it was, and I know you're live on here as well, go into those files, scroll down there, and you'll find my perfect loan process so that if you want to make some enhancements, you can steal some ideas. And I shouldn't say steal, right? Grab some ideas. And, maybe that'll be the enhancement that you need, is just looking for one or two extra things that you could be doing instead of thinking of it on your own, which is fine as well, of course. But it's always great to have that collaboration. Yeah, there we go. That's the one. So hopefully that'll help. That just reminded me that it was there when you were scrolling through the files.
Yeah, no problem. All good stuff. Todd, any other topics you want to make sure we cover? We've got about another 18 minutes left in today's mastermind.
You know me, I can always come up with some direction, but I want to say it's always best when you guys give us topics. So I love seeing what Julie Herman, my friend out of the Pacific Northwest, is talking about realtors and how they don't really want to date right now. And it is funny because every time I talk to a top producing realtor, right? I had Steve Chater on, the author of Hold, runs a big team, owns a couple brokerages, and he says, bring me a lead and I'll have a meeting with you. I always hear that, and that's always so hard. Yeah. And it'd be worth maybe just chewing on that, the three of us, for a few minutes and seeing what other dialogue we can get, hearing that in the marketplace. I think realtors are tired of the same old thing, right? They're tired of being called by loan officers and just saying, hey, I think you're a great producer and so am I, let's meet. I think they're even more tired of having their assistant call and say, gosh, you know what? Dave Savage is really awesome. I think you would like him. I mean, that seems a little disingenuous. Well, Dave's awesome. How come he doesn't have time to call me? So I would love to hear from you guys, any strategies that you are all doing to get realtors to meet with you. I'll throw one out there. My team 2 months ago was National Yoga Day, and there happens to be a yoga studio in our building. And so someone on the team said, hey, I'm renting a yoga studio, $150, rented it, invited 20 realtors who all came and did yoga and had a happy hour afterwards, right? So it wasn't come have coffee with us, it's come do yoga with us. So what else is it that you guys can do to get people in your office? Because once they're in your office, or once you're together with them face to face, right? Look at Eddie. He was out at the Chamber of Commerce, found a couple of realtors, right? And my guess is there was some other financial advisors and CPAs and some other potential people there. So Dave, Jen, what are you guys hearing out there that you think people may maybe do it differently?
I'll go first on that if you don't mind, Dave. I think that one of the things that we fail to do is, like you were saying, show up and throw up. I always express it a little bit differently. We've got a huge toolbox. It's like this big handyman walking in with a big toolbox. And imagine if that handyman just dumped it on your floor. And that's what we don't want to do, right? We want to go in, we want to listen, we want to hear, we want to take notes, we want to do some, it's called PECA, some reflection questioning and stuff. And then, then we want to pull out the best tool for them. So when we so that's one part. The other part is when we think about jab, 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 hook, right? We want to give, and then ask. And so I think what we want to do is focus on complimenting them, not just saying, hey, you're a great producer and I am too, so we should get together, but more, I see that you've got a lot of activity on here online. Maybe you're looking at LinkedIn or their Facebook pages, do some recon before you start just calling people and saying, oh, they're a producer, so I'm going to call them. Do the recon to find out what exactly they're doing. What is their message? What is their branding? Because if you saw them one place, you're most likely going to see them in other places. What is their branding like? Do they need help with their branding, right? And don't assume, just make notes on all these things. And do that recon. And then, if you want to reach out through LinkedIn or Facebook, it wouldn't be, hey, I just want to connect you and punch a button, but rather, hey, I see that you've got a lot of listings. I wanted to let you know that I thought that listing was great. I shared it with my community. I mean, they're going to appreciate that. That's a give. Second thing is, if you don't mind me asking, I always ask for permission, right? So if you don't mind me asking, what's your specialty? Because now you're pushing the conversation about them and not about us. You're just inquiring, you're asking a few little questions. And I think what you need to do is warm up that relationship so that it's not a cold call as, hey, I'm great, and so you should meet with me, that kind of thing. I think that's number one. Number two is while you're doing that recon, you're also able to find out what they like personally. So just as Todd said, like come and do yoga with me or whatever. So if you find out that they do something that you like or that you'd be willing to learn how to like, then look at them as the expert and say, I've been meaning to get into yoga. I see that you do yoga. Is that something you would take, be willing to take me with you to whatever? I see that you're doing a charity event. I've really wanted to get into that, but be authentic, be genuine. If you don't want to get in it, don't say it, but try to find that common ground that perhaps you could have the more personal relationship in addition, soft skill relationship versus the hard skill relationship of the technicality of the call. So I would just say, focus more on giving first, then asking, for business later. And I think that you will get much further along than you are now. And there was something else I was going to say, but I can't remember it right now. So I'll chirp back in later, maybe.
All right. So I've got something I'll throw in there. So some of you probably saw my post. I posted it maybe 2 weeks ago that I was going to be hanging out with the guy who's the first person to list Zillow homes. And two things happened. Number one is his flight to California got canceled. Mine didn't. So I was there and I did my speaking part, and then he was unable to show up. So I was able to schedule a breakfast or a lunch with him later that week. And I would tell you that, first off, he really doesn't want me to talk about it. So I purposely didn't repost in there, but I'll share a little bit of insights with it. Number one is this guy's super busy. He runs a team that's been selling over 60 units a month. And now he also runs a second team that is doing the Zillow listings here in Arizona. And I got to tour his operation, and we scheduled 90 minutes together. For a guy who's as busy as he is, that's like him giving up, a full day for the rest of us. And what Jen was just talking about is how can you add value and how can you find out what you need? Ironically, I scheduled a meeting right after I met with him because I knew I was going to be over there with a guy that he owns the building with because we're working on a Win by Noon collaboration. And so by me asking good questions of this realtor at lunch, me asking him what he was doing, where's he succeeding, where's he struggling, I was able to uncover that he's struggling with another project he's working on, which, wow, happens to be something that I'm working on. And because of the research I've been doing myself for Win by Noon, I'm not an expert on, but I know enough to be dangerous. So then he said, gosh, I know how busy you are, Todd, but after you have your meeting with Steve, can you come back and meet with me and Justin and talk about what this is where we're struggling? And so then I had a second 90-minute meeting with them that day where I was just helping them with one of their challenges. So it goes back to the same thing we talked about with rates. Ask better questions, right? Don't show up and throw up. Help them with what it is that they're working on and where they're struggling, and then you will grow your business. So thanks for stoking that up there, Jen.
Love,
Yeah,
love,
no problem. No
love
problem.
that.
Go ahead. Are we on the top there? I was going to say, here's the other thing. We just talked about prepping your fourth quarter. Prep their fourth quarter as well. That's a great opportunity for you to make the phone call. That was the second thing I wanted to say is for you to make the phone call and say, hey, listen, I know you're just finishing up summer, and as we start heading into the fourth quarter, I'm starting to work my business plan next year. I'd really like to chat with you and just interview you and find out, how did you do this year? Are you on track? Are you off track? What do you want to accomplish next year? Because one of the things that you will learn from that, and I should have mentioned this when I said this before, because I've done this for years, is I've aligned myself with my A+ and A realtors and referral partners. I find out what they're trying to accomplish so that I don't have a business plan over here and they have a business plan over there, and someone else has one here, and I'm constantly switching my business plan to accommodate the needs of my my team. If you find that common thread, like Todd just said, of they have the same challenge that you have, then you can create a mastermind for next year, and so that you all can work on that challenge. If they're trying to figure out how to take their social media to the next level with video, you have so much information in mortgage coach and productivity and Tuesday calls, etc., that you could bring everyone together, you could watch videos together, and then you could brainstorm on actionable items together. So it's a great time to ask them their questions and what their goals are and their challenges and how they expect to accomplish things and what you can give to them. What would they need from you to help them move forward? Is there anything that you could do to help them progress in their goal quest, right? So use this time to do that, as well as you're putting your plan together so that you don't have to redirect your plan come February because you find out a realtor of yours just became the official realtor at a builder site, right? And now you've got to, oh, that's the only way to get business with them is I've got to get in with the builder. Now I've got to learn extended locks and things like that. So learn it all now. Use that as a tool.
Beautiful.
Well,
So I have some, hang on, Todd. I've got some closing thoughts on this topic, but Eddie said he had something else to share. Eddie, what was it that you had else to bring into the community?
I just wanted to let you know real quick that I last Friday was interviewed by our local radio station, and I mentioned on the radio that I do these total cost analysis for every one of my clients. And so I just wanted to plug that in there and let everyone know that I'm constantly bringing the fact up that I do these total cost analysis and what the value is in it. And I've gotten some positive feedback from that.
Love it. Love it. By the way, I was interviewed by Craig Sewing, the leader, the host of American Dream TV. And it was a consumer facing interview. And, you know, he asked me about the total cost. He asked me what families should see. So that's an example. And Eddie, it's great to hear that you're doing that. And if anybody else in mortgage coach land is, you know, doing interviews, doing media, and they're telling the total cost analysis story as a referral magnet, you know, what can you put out there in the market so that the phone rings with, hey, I want one of those total cost analysis. Hey, I want to make sure my clients get that value from you. If you're doing anything in consumer land, you know, please share that in the group. I do believe I shared my interview with Craig. And Eddie, if you have that online anywhere, feel free to share it. We'd love to hear how you're doing it.
Yeah, they're supposed to send me a copy, so I'll share that.
All right. Hey, great job, man. Thanks for being so active and getting better together, my friend. Thanks.
Thank you.
Todd, anything you wanted to say? And then I had a couple closing thoughts on the realtor question.
all right, two quick things. One is I'll throw in there, thanks to Eddie, right? Think about it, guys. You know what? This call is always great when one of you raises your hands and comes in and helps drive the direction of the conversation. And it's also great when you're interacting on chat, right? Julie's question about realtors got us going here for the last 15 minutes of the call. I'm going to call out Adam Black because he's taken what he calls a shotgun approach, and we don't have time to bring him in, but I'm going to make an ask that we get him on maybe in the next week or two, unmute him and let him sort of talk about what he's doing, because I think you guys will find it interesting. I think there will be a ton to learn from him because it's the counterpunch to what I just said and what Jen just said. So that'll be great, Adam. I'm throwing it out there. I'm calling you out on here. So any of you who are actually doing anything else innovative, shoot Dave or I a private message, raise your hand. We would love to feature you on one of these future calls as well. You don't have to have video. You can do what Eddie did and talk in, or if you want to smile on here, we would love.
So Todd just cut out. Adam Black, we'd love to have you come into the next call. If you could do that, please do. One thing I wanted to add on that realtor question, I think it's a time that, dating, you're right, realtors are busy. A lot of people are stressed out right now between the digital disruption that's taking place and inventory issues and market as a whole. It's a tough time right now. So I think now more than ever, you need to tailor your advice and you need to target. So, one, be really clear on who are your absolute dream realtors. Think of those agents that are absolutely dream relationships. And then I want you to, think about what can you do that's really tailored, really special. Make sure you know what they're doing on Facebook or not doing. Make sure that you know what they're doing online, and you know what houses they have on the market. If they've got some houses that haven't sold quickly, I'm seeing more and more seller buy down strategies where mortgage coach professionals are saying, hey, I've got a few mortgage strategies that you can wrap around this listing and help sell it faster, or instead of having to do a price reduction, because in some markets, some homes aren't selling as quickly as they have in the past. So really think about getting targeted. Who are those 3 dream realtors in Q3? Who are the 6 dream clients that you have? And I want you to think not only are they dream, but they're high probability people that you want, and you have a chance at getting them as a client this quarter. So be really clear on who's a top prospect, who do you think you're close to getting, and then really prepare and come out with some targeted ideas and strategies. Jen, anything you want to say as we wrap up in the last 4 minutes?
Yeah, one of the things is go back to the Business Booster session. Remember we did that several months ago where I shared my Business Booster program. So that'll give you some ideas on what you could take to a realtor. I think sometimes people say, well, I know they're a listing agent and they want help, but how do I help them? And so we gave that information out, and I shared that document as well, so that you could use that. So that would be something that, once you're clear on who you want to go after and they're a listing agent or they're a buying agent, you have some information for yourself on what you might want to share with them. So that's, it's not that one, that ugly picture there. But anyway, yeah, so hopefully we can find that, and we'll post it up there if we can find that particular one where I shared the Business Boosters. But that would probably have been like in April or May, way back.
All right, well, we'll figure that out.
But, I would just think about what your next year is going to look like. Think about how this year's gone, and hopefully you can start planning. And that's what I would say, is take the action after this call and start planning as much as you can. I know it's something we'll be talking about over the next several weeks.
Well, I couldn't find it with my first 2 searches. So if you find it, Jen, share it.
You got it.
And so folks, hopefully you got a lot of value from the past hour together. We're going to put this on Facebook. We're going to put this in our YouTube channel. If you got value, please like it. Let us know that, hey, got some value. Give it a like. And if you know of a mortgage friend, or you lead someone that you think can get value, share it with them. Share it with your management team. Jen, thank you so much for all the value you brought. I think Todd's internet went down. We better make sure he's okay. But we lost Todd in the last 5 minutes of today's call. Thank you for everybody trusting Mortgage Coach as a place for you to get better. So if you have ideas on who I should interview, let me know. And with that said, have an awesome weekend and happy Friday. Take care, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Jen.